Hello and welcome everyone. I'll be talking about the last stop in Yuma County, going through it and stating the details I found. Film released in 2023 by indie director Francis Gallupi, a film that some critics are calling a possible cult classic.
Fight Club.
Right at the beginning of the film, we're given plenty warning signs that tells us to stay away from this place. We can see the excessive use of red with the chairs and the sign about the rhubarb pie, rhubarb itself being red. They called it the last stop. The movie opens with this bed, which comes back later at the end of the film. Then we see the knife salesman, played by Jim Cummings. He drives in to ask for gas. Then he starts to look paranoid when he was told there was no gas. And his character seems to be shady throughout the entire duration of the movie. It seems like he's running away from something. He's the only unnamed character in the movie. Then he pulls up to the driveway and we get this framing of him looking at the mirror while looking at the sign, which may have been intentional. Then we see the sheriff drives in with his wife, Charlotte, played by Jocelyn Donahue, who owns the restaurant. A little detail here is the opening time written on the door. Definitely does not match the time she entered, as we later hear the knife salesman listening to the radio about the bank robbery, plus the sun was up.
Reporting the two men got away with an estimated $700,000 from the Buckeye Western.
Considering the director did say he wrote a biography for each of the characters, we can assume Charlotte, the restaurant owner with 17 years of marriage, without a child and a restaurant in the middle of nowhere, wouldn't be rushing to open. The knife salesman decided to enter the restaurant eventually, and Charlotte asked him where he was heading to. He says Carlsbad, California, to celebrate his daughter Sarah's birthday, and says that it is 4 hours away. I decided to check Yuma to Carlsbad, California, and it was roughly 3 hours, but there are other routes that can be taken to make it 4 hours plus. Maybe it's avoiding something, don't know. Jim puts away the saucer, probably to avoid the smoking temptation, which we later see him succumb to towards the end of the film, and asks for a newspaper to keep himself distracted. Then we see the Green Pinto, a car known for busting into the flames in the 70s. When I checked, busting into flames. With the two robbers, Bo, played by Richard Brick, and Travis, played by Nicholas Logan. The car drives in with a busted rear end, which is a detail added when describing the car in the script. But the director did say he actually purchased the car like that during an interview. Bo discusses waiting in the car for the fuel truck to come before Travis decides to enter because of the heat. We get this overhead shot when he enters, a similar shot that would later be used when the shootout begins. We see the salesman hovering over the puzzle in the newspaper, trying to answer number 83, take the money and run. The answer is probably what he discovers when he realizes it is similar to the action performed by the robbers on the radio to confirm the car. Charlotte then comes over to the knife salesman to hear his speech, but he starts trembling a little because of the robbers, and he does very little to hide the fact that he knows this, with Richard Brick's character constantly surveying the diner, which makes him later stop the phone call Charlotte tries to make to her husband, the sheriff. During the threats, an unimportant detail here is a picture showing someone standing in front of a diner, I think, maybe meant to be a younger Charlotte, as she later states that it is a family establishment. The camera stays on Boo's face during the threat, so we as the audience can't escape from it and understand that lives are at stake now. Then another little but important detail is shown here when the robbers are walking back to their seats. Travis puts out a cigarette on the saucer Jim put away previously, thereby unintentionally increasing his likelihood of smoking later.
Hi there.
Hey, darling.
Then an old couple enters Eileen and Robert, played by Robin Bartlett and Gene Jones, respectively. Travis goes to use the toilet, with his gun later shown sticking out carelessly. Gavin from the sheriff's office enters to order coffee, and Charlotte tries to send a message, which doesn't work because it gets destroyed unintentionally later. She couldn't do it a second time because both started walking towards the counter and couldn't risk getting shot. Travis meets Vernon, the motel guy, and asks for the toilet, and we see a show playing on the TV, which is called Bonanza, a 1960s Western TV show, which you could say is one of the themes of this movie. Next scene introduces us to Miles and Sybil, played by Ryan Mason and Sarah McCormick, which feels like a couple on the run from their interactions, as they would later reference Bonnie and Clyde, to which Miles says no and mentions Kit and Ollie from The Badlands, a 1960s film. Both stories are actually similar, basically two lovers on the run while stealing and killing along the way. First ones were shot dead while Kit and Holly were taken to prison. Sybil also mentions how she is a crack shot at booty, which is a Western term for someone so good at shooting they could kill a person in a single shot.
You either have or you haven't.
Well, I'm a crack shot at Boot Hill.
Virginia, played by Barbara Crampton, discusses with Charlie about getting a gift for his upcoming 17 years anniversary with Charlotte. He suggests coffin for his mother-in-law. I think we know why. She's with a newspaper solving the same crossword as the knife salesman. And then she asks for a 4-letter word for take the money and run, similar to what he was looking for, with the answer being loot. We cut back to Sybil singing I'm Gonna Make You Mine by Lou Christie, similar to how they'll try to make the stolen money years later.
Bang. We're in. Nobody sees us go in or come out.
Mouse describes an idea on how they would steal the money from the robbers if they did see it, which is a plot from the Pink Panther.
Yes, a Pink Panther.
A 1963 movie in which a man cuts a hole in the ground of an apartment complex, which is above a jewelry store, to steal. They reach the gas stop and Miles notices the green Pinto there. He tries to steal the money from the boot just like the intended purpose of the crime he described earlier, to steal the money without being seen. But they get interrupted by the motel guy, Vernon. We get this overhead shot I talked about earlier in the next scene, right before the catalyst enters. Pete, played by John Proudstar, his truck containing enough fuel, sped things up here. Bo inquires about him having fuel before going to play Crying by Roy Orbison in the jukebox. The knife salesman writes a letter to Sarah I can't make out, probably any last words message before it all starts. The shootout had fast cuts and someone was shot off screen. Bo holds Charlotte at a gunpoint while negotiating for the truck driver's key, while Miles threatens that he wants part of the money. Then Charlotte stabs Bo in the neck. He shoots her. Travis shoots Robert, who had the gun, while Bo shoots Elaine off screen, I would assume. Pete shoots Miles, then both robbers shoot him, while Betty was hiding behind the counter this whole time and the salesman under the desk. Vernon comes in and shoots Travis, while Bo shoots him. Then we have Betty threatening the salesman with a gun to come out, but the crack shot at Boots Hill misses and drops the gun.
Can't take that risk.
We get the battle of one unnatural redhead versus another, and he comes out on top by stabbing her. Jim Cummings did say in an interview that his character's hair was supposed to be dyed blonde, but a mistake was made and it turned out red. The AC comes on, probably to avoid being a witness to these murders, unlike the bed later on. The salesman sees the lighter and cigarette on the table and resumes old habits immediately after. He then goes to the motel to use the phone, probably to call the police, but instead digs a hole for himself again when he sees the money on the wall, getting reminded of the 700k. The first hole he dug, by the way, was resuming smoking, because you can see from the beginning that he was trying to quit something. and probably relating to the divorce or separation at least. He takes the 2 cans containing fuel and cuts a pipe to manually refill, steals the key from the robbers to take the money out of the boot, then into his. While going back to return the key, he finally writes the answer to the crossword puzzle he was pondering over earlier, probably because he's also looting. A couple pulls up to the station at this moment, and David goes in to find the massacre. He tells Sarah, played by Alex Esso, about it before the salesman comes out from his hiding spot. He threatens them with a gun and tries to give them part of the money so they would keep their mouth shut. They hesitate, and then we go back to threatening before David mentions his wife's name. The salesman realizes it is similar to his daughter's own, but still goes ahead to shoot, but the gun got stuck. David tries to fight him, but Sarah got shot and then he got murdered after. In this process, his fuel tank also got shot. We hear a song, Midnight Train to Georgia by Gladys Knight and the Peeps as it drives off. The movie, which was shot in Lancaster, a part of Los Angeles technically, while the song talks about someone leaving LA, same with him. The sheriff decided to visit after no one answered at the motel when he tried to call. He sees the child and the rest of the dead people. We could look at this as a moment was blessed with a child while his wife was taken. Only if he did not go looking for the salesman, because then he would be a witness to murder, and everyone so far has died except the salesman. Charlie hands over the child to Gavin before following the tire tracks he found leaving the diner. He reaches the salesman's car who was stopped because of a leaking fuel tank, and finds a bunch of knives, one of which he found in Betsy at the diner earlier, so he thinks the salesman killed some of them at least, probably his wife too. They face out and the salesman lights up the leaking fuel truck, while he himself gets shot. Charlie dies, then we have the salesman walking away before falling down due to the gunshot. It's important to note that the director did say one of the movie he got his inspiration from was The 12 Angry Men. You can say that the knife salesman, yes, sees himself as a defendant, just like the one from the movie, except he believes he is not guilty and just a victim of circumstance, even though he has killed as much as anyone else in the movie, literally out of 12 people that got killed before him. One person who could have believed him, only if he had called earlier. He chose to believe in himself, and everyone he seems to set his eyes on more than once ended up dead. Even the bed later gets hit by money or something for being a witness to these crimes. Then we heard the song Let's Live for Today by Rapeti Maguru and Michael Julian talking about living in the moment, which is ironic. Another ironic thing is this being my first stop. If you stayed with me till now, thanks and bye for now.